I set my coffee down on the kitchen counter, my fingers tightening around my phone as my mom's voice filled my ear. Laura, honey, have you been ordering food with your debit card? I frowned, my mind racing. No, why? I just got an alert. 6 separate charges to a food delivery app. They total over 300 美元. Is that a mistake? My stomach dropped. That couldn't be right. I barely used my debit card on campus. My parents had paid for my dining plan. And even if I wanted takeout, I'd never order that much. I'll look into it, Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But inside my heart was pounding. I sat down, opening my banking app. There they were, 6 separate transactions over the past 2 weeks, all through a food delivery service. Burgers, sushi, pizza, orders I had never placed. I felt a prickle of unease run down my spine. Someone had used my card. The only person who had access to it was my boyfriend, Jake. I knew it was dumb, but I didn't want to believe it. Jake and I had been together for a year. He was charming, intense, and could be a little aggressive when things didn't go his way. But he had never stolen from me. At least I didn't think so. Trying not to jump to conclusions, I walked across campus to his dorm, knocking on his door. Hey, babe. He greeted me with a smirk, his blue eyes scanning my face. I took a deep breath. Jake, have you used my debit card? His expression darkened instantly. What? Are you seriously accusing me of stealing from you? He snapped. Someone used my card for food orders and you're the only person who. Wow, Laura. Wow. That's how much you trust me. Maybe you should cancel your card before some random hacker drains your account. I hesitated. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe it was a scam. But something about the way he reacted made my stomach twist. Yeah, I said slowly. I'll call the bank. That night I canceled my card, but I wasn't satisfied. Something wasn't adding up. So I did something Jake would hate. I reached out to the food delivery service. I messaged their customer support, asking if they could send me the receipts for the purchases. It took a few hours, but when they finally responded, my breath caught in my throat. The name on the receipts? Jake. They had tried to redact it by scribbling over it, but they had done a terrible job. His name was still clearly visible. And the last order? Had been just 2 hours before I confronted him. I felt my blood turn cold. He had just eaten the food I unknowingly paid for when he stood there looking me in the eye and lied. I stared at my phone, my chest tightening with a mix of anger and humiliation. The next morning, I walked straight to Jake's dorm. My hands were shaking as I knocked, but my voice was steady when he answered. I have the receipts, Jake. He blinked at me. What receipts? The ones from the food orders. They have your name on them. For a moment he didn't move. Then his whole face twisted into something ugly. Are you serious right now? You went snooping? You don't trust me at all. Trust you? You stole from me, Jake, and you lied to my face about it. That's when it happened. His hand clenched into a fist, not raised. Just there, just tight enough to be a warning. You're making a big deal out of nothing, he hissed. It was just some food. You weren't using the money anyway. I swallowed hard. I wasn't going to let him intimidate me. We're done, Jake, I said, my voice calm. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh, we're done. Who do you think you are, Laura? You're nothing without me. You think you can just walk away? I held my ground. Watch me. And then I turned and walked out. As I made my way back to my dorm, my heart was racing. I wasn't scared. Not yet. I was just furious. But I should have been scared. Because when you leave someone like Jake, they don't just let you go. And I was about to find out just how far he was willing to go. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jake's face. The anger, the condescension, the veiled threat in his clenched fists. I had dumped him. I should have felt relieved. But instead, I felt uneasy. Like something was coming. And I was right. The next morning, I woke up to a string of missed calls and texts from Jake. Jake, 1:14 am. You're seriously making a big deal over some food? You're pathetic. Jake, 1:37am. I should have known you'd turn into a crazy ex. Jake, 2:05. No one's going to believe you. You have no proof. Jake, 2:30am. You better not tell anyone. My stomach twisted. And then one last message sent at 4:12 a.m. Jake, you're gonna regret this. That was the moment I realized this wasn't over. By lunchtime, it was obvious Jake had gotten to work. People in our dorm, people who used to be my friends, were giving me weird looks, whispering behind my back. My roommate Sarah was the one who finally told me. "Laura, you need to see this." She slid her phone across the table. It was open to Jake's Snapchat story. The caption? "Crazy ex-girlfriend is trying to ruin my life." And the image? A blurry screenshot of a fake text conversation where I was supposedly begging him to take me back. "Are you serious?" I muttered, my face burning. "That's not even the worst part," Sarah said grimly. "Jake had been telling people that I stole money from him. That's why everyone was whispering. That's why people were staring at me. He was flipping the story. And some people who didn't know me well enough, were believing him." I wanted to scream. I needed air. I left the dining hall, my mind racing. What do? Do I ignore it? Do I fight back? Do I tell people the truth? As I was walking back to my dorm, my phone buzzed. A text from Mark, one of Jake's old friends. "Mark. Heads up. Jake is saying some serious shit about you. I wouldn't trust him to back off." My pulse spiked. Me. What do you mean? "Mark. He's pissed you embarrassed him. Says you owe him. Be careful." I stared at the message. Owe him? For what? For calling out his lies? For dumping him? I had a sinking feeling. I wasn't just dealing with a bitter ex. I was dealing with someone who wanted revenge. That night, I locked my dorm room door. I double-checked the lock. I told myself I was being paranoid. But at 3:47 a.m., I woke up to a sound. A click. The sound of a door handle turning. My heart stopped. And then a soft knock. "Laura, open the door." Jake. He was right outside my door. I held my breath, my hands shaking. "Laura, I know you're in there." The handle rattled. My mind went into full panic mode. Was he going to break in? What did he want? I grabbed my phone and texted Sarah, who was staying with her boyfriend that night. Me. "Jake is outside my door. Won't leave. What do I do?" A pause. Then Sarah. "Call security." Now. I didn't hesitate. I dialed campus security with shaking fingers. "Campus safety. What's your emergency?" "My ex is outside my door. He won't leave. What's your location?" I gave them my dorm and room number. "Stay where you are. Officers are on the way." I clutched my phone, my pulse hammering in my ears. For 2 whole minutes, Jake just stood there. Then, finally. Footsteps. Voices. A knock, this time louder. "Sir, step away from the door." Silence. Then the sound of retreating footsteps. One of the officers knocked. "Miss? You can open the door now." When I did, Jake was gone. I reported him to the resident director first thing in the morning. Jake was banned from my dorm building and given a formal warning from campus security. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Because that night I got a text from my bank. "Unusual login attempt detected on your account." And my stomach dropped. I opened my banking app and saw my savings balance. Or what was left of it. Jake had drained my account. I stared at my phone screen, my entire body numb. Account balance. 14.82 美元. My savings were gone. Everything. For a moment, I thought I was seeing things. Maybe this was a glitch. Maybe the app wasn't updating correctly. But no. There it was. Plain as day. A series of unauthorized transactions. Transfers I never made. And then it hit me. Jake. I felt sick. He had already stolen from me once. Lied to my face. Humiliated me with his stupid fake texts and stories. He had come to my door in the middle of the night. And now? He had taken my money. This wasn't some petty breakup drama anymore. This was theft. This was criminal. This was war. I wasn't going to cry about it. I wasn't going to beg him to send it back. I was going to end him. I took a deep breath and called my bank. "Hi. I need to report fraudulent transactions on my account." The customer service rep asked me to verify my identity and list the charges. As I went through them, I realized something crucial. The transactions had all been made through a digital payment app linked to my bank account. Which meant one thing. There was a record. The rep confirmed it. The money had been transferred to another user. They couldn't tell me the name directly, but they could flag the transactions for investigation. I already knew whose name they would find. But I needed more. So I did something I knew Jake would never expect. I called his bank. Hi. My name is Laura. And I believe someone has been making unauthorized transfers from my account to one of your users. I need to confirm some details for a potential fraud claim. It took a little sweet talking. But eventually I got exactly what I needed. The recipient account? Jake's full name. He was sloppy. He was stupid. And now I had proof. Jake thought he could take from me without consequences. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. I started small. I went to campus security. I showed them the bank records, the fraudulent transfers, the fact that he had already been warned to stay away from me. They took it very seriously. By the end of the meeting, Jake was officially banned from my dorm building and all student housing. If he set foot near me again, he'd be reported to the police. That was satisfying. But it wasn't enough. I needed something bigger. Jake wasn't just some random dropout. He had one thing in his life that actually mattered to him: his academic standing. He was in a competitive honors program, one that required an impeccable record. And guess what? Stealing money and breaking university rules weren't exactly honorable actions. So I filed an official misconduct report with the university. I included the fraudulent transactions, bank proof attached, the security complaint from my dorm because he had stalked me, the fake messages he had spread about me, screenshots attached. I wasn't sure what the university would do, but I had a feeling they wouldn't take it lightly. And I was right. 2 days later, Jake's name was dragged through the mud. His professors were notified of the misconduct case. His scholarship? Under review. And the best part? He had no idea I was behind it until I saw him lose it in the middle of campus. I was walking to class when I heard shouting. "What do you mean I'm on probation?" I turned the corner and saw Jake standing outside the academic office, red-faced, waving his hands like a maniac. "She's lying. She's crazy. I didn't steal anything." The administrator he was yelling at remained calm. "We have documented evidence, Mr. Carter. This is a serious offense." I almost laughed. Jake was spiraling. And I was just getting started. I didn't just want him to get in trouble. I wanted him to feel it. So I took one final step. I forwarded the fraud report to his parents. Yes, his parents. The people paying his tuition. I wrote a polite, professional email explaining that their son had stolen from me. I had filed official fraud claims. The university was already investigating him. I attached everything. Then I hit send. And then, I waited. 2 days later, I got the text I had been waiting for. "Sarah. OMG, you need to see this." She sent me a screenshot of Jake's academic profile. Suspended. I gasped. Sarah texted again. "Sarah." Apparently his parents flipped out. Pulled his tuition. He's done. Jake? The guy who thought he could get away with stealing from me? Lying to me? Ruining my reputation? He had just lost everything. His honors program. His scholarship. His academic standing. His money. And I got the last laugh. The news spread like wildfire. Jake, the arrogant, aggressive guy who thought he was untouchable, was suspended. People whispered about it in the dining hall. Someone even posted about it anonymously on the campus forum. Honors student caught in fraud scandal. Suspended for misconduct. I watched the chaos unfold from a distance, sipping my coffee while my phone buzzed with messages. Some were from people who had doubted me. Emily. "Hey. I heard about Jake. I'm really sorry I didn't believe you before." Dylan. "Damn. Guess you weren't the crazy ex after all." Others were from Jake's friends. Mark. "Dude, I heard his parents cut him off. He's losing his apartment." Rachel. "He's blaming you for everything. He's furious. Be careful." That last one gave me pause. Because if there was one thing I knew about Jake, it was that he didn't handle losing well. I didn't have to wait long. That night, a blocked number called me. I let it ring. Then came the text. "Unknown. You think this is funny? You ruined my life. You're gonna pay for this. I exhaled slowly, my fingers tightening around my phone. He was unraveling. And that made him dangerous. I wasn't scared. Not exactly. But I wasn't stupid either. So I did what I should have done a long time ago. I went to the police. Campus security had already flagged Jake's name because of his previous warnings. So when I showed them the new threats, they took it very seriously. He's been harassing you for weeks, the officer said, frowning as he read through the messages. Now he's making threats. That's escalation. I nodded. I knew it was escalating. We can help you file for a restraining order. The officer continued. This will legally prevent him from contacting you. If he does, we can arrest him. I signed the paperwork that day. Jake wasn't just banned from campus now. He was banned from coming anywhere near me. And if he tried, he wouldn't just be suspended. He'd be in jail. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. Then late one night, I got a call from Mark. Laura, you need to check the campus forum right now. I pulled it up. And there it was. Jake had snapped. He had posted a massive rant, pages long, blaming me for everything. She's a liar, a manipulator. She ruined my life over nothing. She's a psycho ex who couldn't handle rejection. I didn't do anything wrong. And then the worst part. I know where she lives. My breath caught. I read it again. I know where she lives. A cold chill ran down my spine. I immediately screenshot everything and sent it to the police. By the next morning, Jake's post was deleted. And so was his student email. Expelled. He was gone. For good. The last conversation, I should have been relieved. But I wasn't. Not completely. Because part of me knew Jake wasn't finished. And I was right. 2 nights later, my phone rang. Unknown caller. I hesitated. Then I answered. You won't get away with this. His voice was low, shaking with anger. You think you won? I took a deep breath. I wasn't scared. I don't think. I know. Silence. Then his voice cracked. You took everything from me, Laura. For the first time, he sounded small. And that's when it hit me. Jake wasn't just angry. He was broken. No, Jake. I said softly. You did that to yourself. I hung up. And I never heard from him again. For the first time in weeks, I woke up without checking my phone in fear. Jake was gone. Expelled. Banned from campus. Blocked from contacting me. His final words still echoed in my head. You took everything from me, Laura. But the truth was, he had done that to himself. The following week, life slowly returned to normal. People stopped whispering in the hallways. The stares disappeared. Even the rumors Jake had spread about me faded into nothing. Sarah and I sat in the campus cafe, sipping our coffees as she scrolled through her phone. Looks like Jake deleted all his social media, she said. No more vague rants about you. I sighed in relief. Good. So now that your crazy ex is officially out of your life, what's next? That was a good question. For so long I had been in defense mode. Reacting to his attacks. Protecting myself. Fighting back. But now I was free. I think I just want to move on. I admitted. And I meant it. Revenge wasn't about destroying Jake. It was about getting my life back. And now, finally, I had. I didn't hear about Jake again for a few months. Not until Mark texted me one afternoon. Mark. You are not gonna believe this. I raised an eyebrow, typing back. Me. What now? Mark. Word is, Jake tried to enroll at another university. But guess what? They found out about his expulsion. They rejected him. I blinked. I hadn't expected that. Me. Wait, seriously? Mark. Yep. Turns out, once you get kicked out for fraud, it's not so easy to get a fresh start. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel pity. I felt justice. Jake had spent his whole life thinking he could do whatever he wanted, take whatever he wanted, and get away with it. Now, he was paying the price. And I had nothing to do with it. It was his own actions that had ruined him. 1 year later, I found myself back in the same cafe, sipping coffee with Sarah. "You ever wonder what happened to Jake?" she asked, stirring her drink. I shrugged. Not really. And I meant it. The truth was, Jake wasn't important anymore. My life had moved forward. I had graduated on time, gotten a great internship, started building the future I wanted. Jake? I had no idea where he was. And I didn't care. Looking back, I realized something. I didn't win because I ruined Jake's life. I won because I refused to let him ruin mine. I didn't let him intimidate me. I didn't let him steal from me and get away with it. I didn't let his lies become my truth. I fought back. And in the end, that was all that mattered.